This is the Good Neighbor Podcast, the place where local businesses and neighbors come together. Here's your host, Mike Murphy.
Yes, thank you, Charlie. I am Mike Murphy, host of the Good Neighbor Podcast, a podcast that is intended to help you get to know local business owners, influencers, movers, shakers, just people in the community that are doing the good work of helping the community move forward in many different ways. One of the people I have with me today is Chris Albaugh, and Chris is the owner of Enhancing Your World, and there's a lot to enhancing your world, and every time I try to explain, I screw it up. So I said, Chris, get your butt into the studio here, and we'll do this together, and just have a nice organic conversation about everything that you're doing in the community. So, without further ado, Chris, welcome to the show. Tell us about Enhancing Your World.
Well, thank you for the opportunity to meet with you and speak about this.
You're welcome.
Enhancing Your World is really, like you said, it's very multifaceted.
There you
excuse
go.
me. But it's really a container. It's a movement to help unify the very subtle separations between us and our true nature.
Okay.
So it's our holistic wellness, on an energetic level. Depending on the tradition or the teachings, there's all these discernments and different ways to look at energies, but we really try to stay within the holy trinity of mind, body, spirit, or we can even call that emotion, right? The thing that connects the formless to the form. And so it's a wellness community where and platform for holistic wellness practitioners to help enhance their message, get their message out there, as well as a business platform, and allow us humans to learn from different lineages of thought, of different lineages of practice, really focusing on unconditional love and realizing that everything that has created us to this moment has been teaching us something about ourselves and the true nature of the greater cosmos, if you will.
Right.
And walking a path. My personal path has been one of many different lifetimes within this one lifetime. But as far as my knowledge and education, it comes from both the science, lens, as well as the spiritual lens, and working with indigenous cultures to, Eastern philosophies, and, doing all those various different things too. And so that's kind of the what is Enhancing Your World. It's basically a bridge to help you get from where you are to where you desire to be, mentally, emotionally, and physically, within all your relationships, within yourself, and of course then beyond, how that reflects onto our collective planet.
Okay. That seems like a lot.
That's like
and
taking a drink out of a fire hose.
Right. Yeah. Right. But when I look at your website, you do a good job of breaking it down.
Thanks.
And so I think, something else that I've thought about is people will find you when they're ready to find you, usually. I think an old Zen philosophy that I've heard is when the student is ready, the master will appear. And so that's kind of like when I'm looking through your website, I'm like, okay, I could see people who are just kind of organically searching for this. They come across your site and this is going to make sense to them. So there's a large offering to people that are seeking these holistic wellness therapies from you on whatever journey they happen to be on. But, just to kind of clarify in people's minds, some of the, words I've written down, customized nutrition and detox, healing touch therapy, movement practices like yoga, Tai Chi,
breathing meditation.
Okay, people know these things.
Yeah.
Reprogram your mindset, crystal therapy, visualizations, nature retreats, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot there.
Mm-hmm.
And so I wrote those down as at least, categories, buzzwords that people can hear and say, okay, now I kind of get where he's going with this.
Right.
And so when somebody asks you about what you do, I mean, you just kind of given us kind of an overview,
Mm-hmm.
but is there a typical person that you're helping, or somebody that you're looking for? How do you find people? Do you count on them to find you?
They do. I mean, that's why I say, we're spiritual beings having a human experience, right? Because when we really step back and look at wholeness, look at, duality of pain and pleasure, of service to self, others, those types of things, it creates all these different pathways.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess the ultimate and who I typically work with are the people that are looking to find their true self. They're wanting to let go of the past stories of whatever it was they went through, the abuse. They want to heal their relationships with their family, their parents, their lover, whatever it is. They have a substance or an addiction issue, and what we are bringing to light through these coping mechanisms is the root of where we don't feel worthy enough, where we don't feel valued, we don't feel seen. And unfortunately, or fortunately, however you choose to perceive, we have a lot of information out there that tells us who we're supposed to be without asking who it is that we are and how is it that we're supposed to walk. And some of the blessings that I've received by walking with some of these wisdom keepers of these indigenous tribes, which I just wrote a big article today about Mama Lorenzo and my time with him and what I've learned from him about purifying your heart and the work that is just around that. What if that was the daily practice of looking at challenge and strife and this stuff
Mm-hmm.
as there's nothing wrong, but it's a little dirty because we all come into this world in the human form, pure, as a baby. Now, science and, various different things say we come in with, past down trauma from
Mm-hmm.
generational, things such as the grandmother effect or, different indigenous teachings on, healing our ancestral lineage and the things that they had to endure so we could be here having this existence that we have today. So it gives us purpose. And it's a purpose beyond being a cog in a societal wheel, however you choose to look at
Mm-hmm.
it. There's no judgment there. But, for a long time, I had issues with authoritarians, with police. I had a rough childhood growing up and, I've been arrested and beaten by the police and, all that stuff. So I could have that story in my head, which, when I would get pulled over in my early 20s, if I got pulled over by a police officer, this is just a story, I would shake, I'd go into those, maybe PTSD type
Mm-hmm.
symptoms. And, I'd be all nervous and anxiety, and just because I was holding on to this energetic trauma within my nervous system.
Mm-hmm.
And the story wrapped around it was, I'm not safe.
Yeah.
I'm in danger, and being able to go back into, and working with that stuff and that kind of stuff. Now, when I get pulled over, the last time I got pulled over, I mean, I knew I was getting a ticket. I should have got a ticket. I was really speeding.
Mm-hmm.
And the cop said, I wish I didn't have to do this. Like, he had so much empathy and it wasn't that I did anything just the energy and the conversation and how we interacted was so much different.
Okay, so I think that a lot of people that come to you, maybe something that's part of their past, something that might be part of their present, would be addiction, substance abuse, or I don't know. There's all sorts of addictions that you would know more about that than me. But I think you have a kind of a unique perspective on addiction recovery. You've kind of covered some of it through our conversation thus far, but there's the Gauge Your Life method that you spoke about to me before, like in the pre-interview. So what is that, and how does that relate to recovery?
Okay. Well, Gauge is was a dream or a vision that I had in 2017 when I was going through a transition myself of going from like personal development leadership, where you're trying to like improve your character, right? That whatever that archetype is that you have in your mind of yourself, you're trying to, make it look better or make it look healthier or make it
right.
whatever that is, to like a deeper profound of healing. And that really came through I was a mindset coach and business coach, and I had a client ask me for some help with some marketing, and they introduced me to Reiki and crystal healing. I was just modeling for their website, and when I got off the table, I was so high. Like I just lost like 30 pounds. I mean, I was blown away.
Wow.
And so that led to this profound shift in me, where I was really trying to detach myself from perspective and perception and mindset development, like I had been trained, and really start practicing a deeper embodiment. And that goes into the Gauge method, because there are 5 universal principles that I found present in most religions, spiritualities, or even business. And those universal principles are gratitude, awareness, unity, growth, and energy. And so this helped me put together not necessarily a framework where it was rigid, but it's pliable. It's more customizable to that moment. And I was talking about that conversation with Mamo, and that's just made a very interesting connection today, and I feel like that's why I keep bringing it up. But he gave me a gauge, and the story of that was he came to me in a dream, and when we were sitting together in this year's Santata, I asked them about it. And not only did he consciously was aware that he came to visit me with these other mamos to test my heart, and like he was giving me details of the dream that I didn't share with him, which was really wild. But at the same time, when I asked them, well, did I pass the initiation? Because that's our Western world, right? What's our check mark? Where what's our, have we got that initiation? Where's that, line in the sand, or consciousness or certification or whatever it was? And did I pass? And the answer he gave me was a gauge. He didn't tell me yes or no. He didn't tell me this is what you have to do. Just when you no longer have, anger in your heart for your parents or your partners, or for humanity, then you'll know.
Okay.
And so that really opened my eyes to various different things. But in my own addiction struggles, and the ones that I've gotten to help, my substance of choice was cocaine. I struggled with low self-esteem and wanting to prove myself and things like that. So cocaine was great for me because I could work a lot. I could go, super social, all that stuff. So it was the drug that helped me live the lifestyle that I ultimately wanted to live. The challenge being with that was just like any pendulum swing. What works for a little bit will also have a dark side to it. And the same thing with diets. You know, what's the right diet? What's the right diet? You know, we talked about nutrition. Well, you know, the thing is supplements are supposed to be supplements. You're only supposed to take them for a short period of time. Same thing with mindset. Same thing with, you know, all these different things. We're supposed to use them as signposts. A lot of teachers of presence talk about words and labels and concepts as signposts. They'll point you towards the truth, but we can only experience truth in the moment. So when it comes to addiction recovery, there's usually the reason there's the addiction is it's a coping mechanism that served us for a certain period of time. Now, the challenge being is how do we let go of that identity and realize that we don't need that anymore? And a lot of that can come through presence, mindfulness, embodiment practices, those types of things, to where, you know, even touch, you know, I tell people when they're feeling overwhelmed or whatever to, you know, put their hand on their heart and just breathe and feel the temperature in your chest, you know, between your fingers and things like that, because that's bringing you into the here and now. And as long as you're not being threatened in your physical environment, your nervous system is going to be aware of those observations. So it's going to regulate itself. So we're not having to come up with projections. We're not having to come up with excuses or alibis of why this didn't work or why this relapse happened, and then we have to get over the shame and the guilt of it, or, you know, those types of things. And working with a lot of medicine people from around the world, a lot of the medicines that they use to help heal mental, emotional, and physical disease would be what would be considered plant medicine. You know, different types of hallucinogens or tobacco or things that in our culture right now are kind of like, they're bad things, you know, or, you know, a lot of people are now starting to praise them as the saviors, and they're tools, like sitting with ayahuasca or psilocybin or, you know, these different plant medicines. They'll help give us access to things, but we actually have to do the work in our life. Just like anything else, there's a law of compensation. We have to give before we can receive. We have to, you know, before we can. So those types of things, those are universal truths that ring true beyond anyone's, you know, identity of, you know, their, you know, this religion, or, you know, no, we're all human beings and we practice different ways of being human, which is the beautiful thing. Just like any snowflake is unique in itself. It's how they stick together that makes them so impactful.
Well, I can tell you've learned a lot since your days of addiction and all that stuff. So you're a natural teacher. I mean, you've kind of got the knowledge that you're still learning, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, always.
But you've got the passion, you've got the will to help people. You were once upon a time in the entertainment business, correct? All right. What was that specifically, and how long ago was that?
Well, so that started, believe it or not, in my teenage years. I tried to I modeled and did some things here and there, acted and did some small things. And then, you know, I had to, I committed suicide and,
or attempted.
Yeah. Someone found me and brought me back.
Okay. So you were clinically gone.
Yeah. And I came back with this whole new thing. And I'd be happy to deepen that story if necessary. But needless to say, it ended me up in the financial services because I wanted to make a difference in people's lives. And I know I attributed a lot of the abuse that I received as a child because of scarcity mindset and people not having enough resources and, you know, those types of things. And at the time, most of, 50% of divorces ended in because of finances. Oh, I'm going to change the world. And then 9/11 happened. So found myself, as a GED, holder, but I dropped out at the junior year of high school to get away from abusive environment in my family structure and go into business and sales and, get into the real world, as they would say. And so I found myself like in the situation of like, I didn't know where I was going to go. Like this, I thought this opportunity in finance was going to be my thing. And with the industry and the tanker, I had to look for other alternative things. Dancing and working in the adult industry alongside of my wife, which allowed eventually led us into the adult film industry. And so we did that for a few years, and learned a lot about ourselves, learned a lot about life and other people. And I was very grateful for those opportunities to really get to see all the things that I've gotten to experience and meet people on the levels that I've gotten to meet them on. So I was in the adult industry, and also nightclubs and, all that,
all that goes with it,
all the hedonistic stuff, the drinking, the drugs, the, partying with, rock stars. And, it was that lifestyle that so many people want. Whether they admit it or not, they want to at least have that experience, right? Like, what would it be like to party with Motley Crue for one night, or whatever it is, right? And, I got to live those experiences. So I'm grateful to have those. But as I said, I developed a cocaine habit.
Okay.
And my house was robbed. And, luckily my wife wasn't hurt, but they literally robbed us within an hour window of her and her friend being there, and us coming back. So they were like either in the house or they were watching the house when she was there. And, we had weapons, we had guns out on the, that were left at the house. That was about the only thing that they didn't steal, and totally wiped us out. And he was like, "What do you mean?" And I was like, I'm not living in my highest potential. My heart's in the right place. I'm trying to help people. We're making money. We're doing all these things, but we're also, destroying ourselves in the process. Yeah. So there has to be a different way. And so that allowed me to then go into mainstream entertainment, and work with, comedians and musicians and models and actors. I've acted, I got the opportunity to work with Zac Efron and a few other folks through the years. So, we got to do a lot of that cool stuff. And that allowed me to learn about what others called success, but I felt really hollow inside. And then a business redirection. I partnered with a guy who was embezzling money from his financial firm.
And you lived an interesting life.
Yeah. I mean, the FBI called me, and the whole crazy gamut of things left me in a redirection where all the things I had ever worked for, all the material wealth, all the things were taken away. Cars repoed out of the driveway, all the things. And it was like rock bottom again, right? Like, oh my God, I've been here so many times. Like, I've done all these things. I've helped make people, like the ego just was screaming, like, why me? Like, I've done all this good and I've helped these people and they've made money and they live their dreams, and, I'm suffering. Why me? And in those dark moments, a few key things showed up for me. One, I heard that voice that everyone talks about, right? And, spirituality. Well, I didn't know what that meant. I was taught to be of service. That was spirituality. My Bible of choice at that time was Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. That was, what I was trained to do. I came from a lineage of successful people in whatever they did. So that was the part that I knew how to play. And I didn't know what spirituality meant. I knew what religious meant. I knew that one wasn't for me because it was no room for questions. And so anyway, I learned about meditation and I started doing these different things. And as life unfolded for me, I again got some opportunities to test my growth not based on what I thought or who I thought I was or whatever, but true life experience when there was a life on the line or there was something going on. You know, how did I respond versus how did I react, or how did I react, but then was able to have enough presence to pull myself back from that reaction. You know, the story that is wanting to bubble up is my neighbor was a preacher, and he caught something on fire, and someone called the fire department. He blamed it on me.
Oh.
And he was a troublemaker in the neighborhood, but he had money, and he was, you know, he was a bully. So as soon as I go in the house, he's banging at the door, wanting to fight me. I got a 2-year-old freaking out, hiding under his bed because of what's going on. At this point, I had never yelled in front of my son. So the fact that I was yelling at this guy, you know, out of fear and out of trying to protect my family,
Right.
I'm traumatizing my son. And my wife was there, and I handed her my cell phone. And, you know, I was raised in the darkness. I was raised in violence. So that was a natural response for me to meet violence with violence. And through my experiences, I've learned that doesn't work. You never change anyone's mind or heart with a fist. But at the same time, you know, you got to protect your family.
Right.
And so I handed my phone to my wife, and I said, okay, hit record in a second. And she said, why? I said, because I'm going to open the store up. He's going to come in the store, and I need the evidence to clear my name that he was a threat to me. And what I did was in self-defense, even though I had the clarity that this is what's going to happen. And let's plan this out to make sure I've got a case when I go to court, because I'm going to court. I'm going to get arrested. This is how it's going to go down. And she looked at me and she said, do you really think that's the best way to do it with Damien here, my son? And immediately that changed everything for me. But anyway, you know, all these experiences that I'm sharing with the audience and yourself, and, you know, reminding myself of, you know, they're pebbles that help me remember that I've always tried to walk this earth with a pure heart. And what has helped other people in this journey is the willingness and the openness to accept people for where they are, where they've been, and where they desire to go. You know, as I've shared here today, like, there's not anything that I could really judge anybody on, because it's I've already done it myself.
Right.
You know,
sounds like you've done just about everything.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't say that in a pride thing, but I say that more in a like, yeah, that's, if you were to look at the spiritual journey or the hero's journey, or, you know, any of those things, we have to battle through these things to come to our authentic self.
Yeah.
And then really realize it's like more of a remembering than it is a conditioning, which is kind of contrary to what we've been taught in modern times. In the indigenous cultures, they have a prophecy called the Eagle Condor prophecy, and it's similar to the Rainbow Warriors prophecy. But essentially it says when the eagle and the condor fly together, you know, the world will know peace. And the idea behind this is the way it's been translated to me is when the heart of the South, because South America is known for their heart, their hospitality, their love, their family, you know, those types of things, with the North, which is the mind, which is the technology, which is the masculine, you know, so you have the masculine and the feminine again, you know, coming together as one and birthing a new earth.
Okay.
And that would be united in tantric teachings and, you know, all the various different things. And that's where it helps to take a wider view of what we've been taught and question why do we think that's true.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Well, a lot of it does make sense. You've done a good job of explaining certain concepts to me. There's a lot within that I don't quite understand.
Okay.
But you've piqued a lot of curiosity today. One thing I can say is, you have, in terms of being on a journey and being able to heal from that, and then being able to transition into a teacher, somebody who can help heal others, being a healer yourself, you've built a ton of street cred.
I got certifications too.
It's not just street cred, but it's the official stuff, the certification stuff.
No.
So I want to make sure that before we sign off, that people understand. Okay, you've been through all this stuff, and you can kind of, as you've helped yourself, and you've had other healers help you, you can do the same for others. And so your website is a place where people can go to kind of start learning and understanding more about who you are, what you do. I know that website is being redeveloped right now. There's some portions of it that are still, under, state of, construction right now. But having said that, there's a lot there still. And I don't want to dissuade people from going to the website as it exists right now.
Right.
Knowing that it's just going to get better and better and better, which is pretty cool because, like I said, there's already a lot there. And I want people to visit the site and kind of help connect the dots on where you've been, like everything you just described. And I know that's just a sliver of what you've been through. Right. And connect the dots on all the healing principles, the wellness solutions that you can offer. So what's the name of the website where you want them to go to?
It's enhancingyourworld.com. And, just to hit on a couple key features, the intention of it is to be a place of holistic wellness. So we want to invite practitioners of other modalities, of other skill sets and things like that, because everybody's on a unique journey. And even though, I'm a Reiki master, and let's say you were a Reiki master, our energies are going to be different at different times. So there's no competition. It's more about cooperation, finding the unity in things. So there's a platform for practitioners to help with their attracting clients. And then there's a social media function to where everybody can drop in and just be a human and say, this is what I'm going through. Anyone have any insights or, any practices or anything that I could do to help me through this moment of a temporary challenge, where maybe they don't have access to a healer or whatever might be available. Because a lot of times I've gotten a lot of help just by having a conversation with somebody, not necessarily hiring them to be a healer per se. But, allowing us to realize that the only true healing, and this is why I loved and was attracted to Reiki in the very beginning, is when I was taught it, the first thing you did was you healed yourself for at least a year. Before you met anybody, before you called yourself a healer, before you took on clients or anything else, you worked on yourself every day. On your healing protocols. So, the concept being is hurt people, we might have heard this before in social media meme land, hurt people, and heal people, heal people. And the only thing that differentiates that is who you're going to choose to be. If you're going to go around calling yourself help, and then you're hurting people because you don't have the capacity to accept them as they are, and you're trying to fix them or tell them who they need to be or that type of thing, that's some unnecessary karma that both the healer and the person looking to be, to gain the healing are going to have to grow through, because we're all natural beings, and healing happens naturally and not necessarily through force. If you've ever had to be forced to lose weight or to quit a bad habit, it's really hard. But when we shift that paradigm a little bit and just say, this no longer serves us anymore, and now let me focus that energy on who I want to be, how I want to feel, how I want to relate to myself, how I want to relate to my friends and family, how I want to relate to the planet. It comes from a place of authentic empowerment and not an artificial control over another out of a fear or insecurity or a way of wanting to protect oneself.
Okay.
Like I said, sometimes I fall down rabbit holes.
I'm not sure. We're not gonna go down this rabbit hole, but I'm sure there was a moment that you might be able to identify that you were at your rock bottom.
Many times, but that, the thing about rock bottom is that's the only place to build a solid foundation.
Okay. So I'm all about storytelling and education. Okay. You've done a great job of storytelling today. The education part will be ongoing, but I think what I'm encouraging people to do is to go to your website and just kind of see what it is you're offering. And I know they can book a consultation with you there as well, correct?
Absolutely. And that's the idea. I can't give, if you and I were going somewhere, I'd have to know where you are first before I give you proper directions.
Yeah.
So I don't want to give too much out and say this is the way, because I don't know the way yet, because I don't know where you are or what you're wanting, where you're wanting to go. That's why we have the consultations. That's why we do energy work. That's why we do teach breath work, because that is something that we're always doing. Breath in itself is the only thing that you can do consciously and unconsciously. It's a bridge. So breathing techniques and those types of things will help work through that nervous system, so it soothes itself. And then when the nervous system isn't so amped up or anxious, then the thoughts and everything, they calm down and they change the quality. And that's the idea behind it.
Well, I'll make sure that people also have your other contact information too when I post this.
Cool.
But I think before we go, there are people out there who probably are wondering, just like I am, hopefully this isn't a sensitive, touchy subject, but where is your ex-wife Jessica and your son Damien, I believe?
Yeah.
Where are they now?
So actually, my ex-wife is actually getting married this weekend.
Okay.
But they moved to Louisville. I actually have my son. We have shared custody.
Okay.
So we still co-parent and all those things. But we had gotten to that point in our relationship where the most loving thing we could do is choose to walk a different path. And she wanted to live a certain way, and I was, exploring, the cosmos and consciousness and, all these various different things. And I wasn't able to provide the security that she was needing at that time. And I wasn't being supported in the ways that I felt like I needed to, as I was trying to let go of the karmic past and not having the relationship that I had with, we just had this talk. I'm glad you brought this up. We just had this talk the other day, as I was apologizing if I caused abandonment or betrayal between us. I hope she understood that wasn't the intention. The intention was not to continue to hurt each other.
Yeah.
And we both agreed we didn't want to have the relationship that my parents had as far as the quality. Now, my parents have the longevity. They were just celebrated their 50-year anniversary. But we wanted to have a true partnership where we were walking with each other. And we weren't really doing that. She was living as a nurse. I was living as a holistic healer. They were kind of at the
the spectrum is wide there between the two.
And I didn't have enough experience in it yet to have more trust in it, so it was more intellectual. So I was trying to why can't you just trust me that organic food is the way to go? Why can't you just trust me that these supplements are good for us? Or why do you have to push back? And so that was a healing in itself. And I'm very grateful for our relationship and that she's found someone to walk with in the way that she wants to, and my son's happy. with that circumstance down there, from what he tells me. And I'm very grateful.
How old is Damien now?
He's 14.
Okay.
Yeah, so he's starting high school this year. So, we're very blessed to have such a wonderful kid. And I tease him all the time. I don't know how I got so lucky, because at his age I was stealing cars, and this kid that he's just so chilled and laid back. He's just super lovey-dovey and just wants to hang out, and didn't have any of those things going on in his life yet. So I'm very blessed that I haven't been tested with those tests yet. But at the same time, if, as they say in a lot of the philosophies, if we heal those things, then our kids won't have to deal with them.
Yeah, they say the sins of the father are visited upon the son.
Right.
So, it's a far cry from when he was 2 years old in that house, and Daddy was packing heat and about to go out on the front porch and, change everyone's life forever.
That's right.
So, all right. Well, good on you for making those choices. And it sounds like, although, 14 is the age where he's just going to start getting into a lot of, stuff himself.
Right.
Sounds like you've got a lot of great tools and skills and perspective now to help him. So good for you.
Thank you.
All right. Well, you warned me before we started this that you could talk.
Yeah.
And if we had the time, I could get another hour out of you, I'm sure.
Oh, we could do it all day. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, but for now, so that's the latest episode of the Good Neighbor Podcast. Thank you, Chris Albaugh, for coming in and sharing your perspectives on healing and letting us know all about enhancing your world. Good luck with the website. We'll all be kind of keeping tabs on that. And if you ever need to come back and storytell again, the seat's yours.
All right. Thanks, Murph.
No problem.
Watch out. We might start a new podcast series.
You've got a history of podcasting. I know. I've seen some of yours. So, someday I think it's like everybody will be forced to have a podcast. I think it'll be mandatory, like car insurance. You got to have a podcast.
It'd be like chatting with Chat GPT, tell me what I'm supposed to do, because I don't want to have to make the decision myself.
Right. Yeah, that's where we're headed. All right, Chris, thanks for joining us today. And you listeners, thanks for tuning in. And this is the Good Neighbor Podcast. So we always sign off by saying, everybody out there, till we visit with you next time, everyone, be good to your neighbor. So long, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to the Good Neighbor Podcast Union. To nominate your favorite local businesses to be featured on the show, go to gnpunion.com. That's gnpunion.com, or call us at 859-651-8330.